And this story is not just a nice story, but this story really, really is someone who you can clearly see understood the lead of his life. About 15 years ago, one of the most famous sports magazines in the country, maybe the most famous, is called Sports Illustrated. Sports Illustrated ran an article about a Jewish religious young man who was a basketball player. His name was Tamir Goodman, and he's Orthodox. And the article was like a 4, 5, 6-page article with a lot of pictures, and the article became very famous because they titled him the Jewish Jordan. And he was one of the top 25 high school basketball players in the whole country, and the only one to play basketball with a kippah. He has a picture in Sports Illustrated with him, and is wearing fully decked out in his tefillin. No one ever had a picture in that magazine with tefillin, and he had. Anyone, if you're married to a sports fan, the mother of a sports fan, the daughter of a sports fan, you probably have heard about this story, and it was like people were curious, like what happened to this guy? Where'd he go from being top 25 player in the country? Where'd he go? Anyhow, recently he came to speak in a number of the community schools. And we heard him speak. Today he lives in Israel and he's married. And he told his story. He says, here I am, all of a sudden I am featured as a major article in Sports Illustrated. News outlets across the country are interviewing me and talking to me. He says, but I knew this. I am a religious Jew. And that's most important. I'm not playing ball on Shabbat. Colleges started to recruit him. He says, I'm only going to the college that doesn't play basketball on Shabbat. Finally, he got recruited to Maryland University. It's one of the top basketball colleges in the country. He was signed up. He was going to go because they were going to have their games all not on Saturday. Last minute, a few months before it was time to enroll in college, the coach changed his mind. He said, no, we're playing Friday nights. I'm sorry. He says, then I'm out. And so he signed up to a much smaller college called Towson. Towson is not as big a basketball college, but they agreed he's not playing on Shabbat. He said you had to see how the players appreciated it, how the players respected me. He says, the first Sukkot night, it was a Friday night, it was Sukkot, and I'm in college, and I have this roommate, 7-foot guy named Muhammad. And the Sukkah is across the college campus. No one else in the campus was using the Sukkah, 17,000 students. He says, and I want to eat in the Sukkah, but there's no Eruv. So I walked across the campus with Muhammad carrying my food for me into the Sukkah. And I sat there and I made Kiddush and the whole Friday night. And then they told me, and then I realized that there's a rally for the basketball team, like the season was starting, and they would all go to the gym, they all come in their jerseys, and they all start cheering, and they cheer for each one of the players. I mean, basketball team on a college campus is like everything. They're like, you're just lucky if you can like touch them. That's how it feels. See, he says, they're making a rally tonight, but it's Shabbat for me. He said, but I'll go in my Shabbat clothing. So one boy runs through the tunnel, comes out, the whole gym is thousands of fans, they're yelling and cheering, they give him the mic, I'm going to get 30 points this year, 10 rebounds, I'm going to be awesome, next one I'm going to be awesome. And then he comes out in Shabbat clothes. And they hand him the mic. He's like, it's my Shabbat, I can't speak on the mic. He says the whole gym started to chant, Shabbat, Shabbat, Shabbat. He says, I got my team so respected what I did. He says that every day, you know how they do in basketball teams when they're practicing or before a game, they all put their fists in the middle and they'll be like, 1 on 3,000, 1, 2, 3,000. He says that's what we did every day, 1, 2, 3,000 in the Naval College. He says on Friday afternoons, the whole team, all white, African Americans, tall, short, everyone all put their hands together and they said, 1, 2, 3, Shabbat Shalom. That's what we did. He says there was one, and I'll conclude with this. He says there was one Thursday that we were playing a major game on Thursday night, and I played the entire game. The only thing was the next day, Friday, was a fast day. Asara b'tevet. Asara b'tevet could be on Friday. So I had just played 40 minutes, a full basketball game. I was exhausted, and the team then went to a Burger King to eat after the game. He says, and I couldn't eat. And so the players just gave me the leftover water that they had from the game, and that's all I had. The next morning, I went into a fast. In the afternoon, our coach said that we're having practice. So I had to do a full, intense college practice, back and forth and running and jumping and running and jumping, and without having eaten anything, and just drank a little bit of water the night before. We then get into a bus late Friday afternoon, and we're going to drive to Boston University, where our game is going to be the next night, Saturday night. We get on the bus, and it's snowing. Next thing you know, 2 hours into the ride, we're not moving, and the sun is setting. I go to the coach, I say, "Coach, I'm sorry, I have to get off the bus." The coach says, "But we're in the middle of nowhere." He says, "I have to get off the bus. My Sabbath is coming. There's a Jewish community, I don't know, a few miles down. I'll figure it out. But I have to get off the bus. My Shabbat is coming." Coach says, "No problem. Do what you want to do. You're crazy, but do what you want to do. Tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock, we have a walkthrough." Walkthrough is not a practice. It's just you see the plays of the other team. He says, "Okay, don't be late." He says, "I got it." He gets off the bus. He starts walking in the snow. He says, "I walked 2 hours in the freezing cold snow after still fasting, after that practice, and not having eaten barely in the night before." He says, "I finally get to a home with a mezuzah. I knock on the door. They invite me into the house. I eat. I sleep there. I pray the next morning in shul. And then I have to walk another 2 hours to the practice." He says, "I got there 15 minutes late." Now, if you know anything about college practices, you don't come on time. You come early. And the coach has no mercy. He came 15 minutes late. The coach looked at him. He says, like, so mad. That night we played Boston University on Saturday night, and we lost. We got on the bus to go on a 6-hour ride back home. I can't even tell you how mentally and physically exhausted I was. And the coach calls me out, and he says, "Tamir, we lost tonight, and you were late for the walkthrough today. And you came 15 minutes late. That's unacceptable. So after this 6-hour drive, tomorrow morning, all the players are going to get off the bus, and they're going to go to the hotel. You're going to get off the bus, and you're going to go to the gym, and you're going to run suicides, which means run back and forth across the gym and bend down every few seconds to each line, and you're going to run back and forth for 15, 20 minutes, and then you'll go to the room." He says, I couldn't, the guy didn't eat. The guy's walking in the snow. I mean, it's a crazy 3 days he just endured. He gets off the bus, and he goes to the gym. And he starts running his suicides, one back and forth. That's these intense runs that feel like suicides. And he's running back and forth, and finally at one point he's about to turn back, and he his eyes start to tear up, like he's like welling up with so much emotion of what, like this is, it's just all the exhaustion. And as he's turning the corner to turn back, he sees the whole team is lined up on the front line. They came to watch him run. We're not going back to the room until you go back to the room, because of the respect that we have for your integrity, for your values, and your Shabbat. That's a man who got the lead of his story. The lead of his story is not I am in Sports Illustrated. It's not I'm the top 25 basketball players in the country. It's not that I get to play college basketball. It's that I have a chance to be a unique Kiddush Hashem that no one else does, based on how I'm born and the strengths I have and the talents I have and the Torah that guides me. I know what my purpose is. And if maybe what's one last beautiful little cherry on his story is that the next year the Towson got a new coach who was anti-Semitic. And so Tamir had to move to Israel. He moved to Israel, started playing basketball in Israel. And then he met a girl there. This girl was in Indiana University, and she was also an athlete. She ran on the track team, and the track team used to run on Shabbat. And she decided, I don't run on Shabbat. And so she stopped running. She stopped being part of the team. And she moved to Israel. They met, and they got married, and today they have 4 children. If that's not someone who can see, Hashem says, you're blessed. And then, when he stopped playing ball, what do you think Hashem put me here? I had this inspiring story. My goal is to spread that story. That's a man who can see clearly, I'm doing my mission. So I told you last week, life that has a purpose is so much more powerful. Eliezer showed us what the journey is like. You could start off as being called cursed, and then go on this powerful journey until you earn the title of blessed. My request and my plea to you, if you want life to have so much more power and meaning, find in every one of your categories, find your purpose, find the lead story, find the blessing that's in the meaning that's in your life that no one else has, and live that life, and it'll be life that'll be the most unique experience of anyone you know. Thank you.